It's not about me. It's about the people. I feel like we need to give the collective back to the people. I feel like it's been hijacked. I feel like people are pushing initiatives and agendas because they want to push their thing forward. And if we focus on the people, and that's what the beauty of podcast is you focus on other people's stories. It's the stories of these people. It's their testimonies that keep us thriving as a nation, that give us hope. So even when you feel like we have no hope, even when you feel like the hope has been sucked out of everything, I get re-inspired knowing that there's good people out there doing the work like yourself and so many heroes that come on these shows. I had a guy on my podcast yesterday who formerly played in the NFL, and now he's doing so many other different, incredible work just by trying to raise awareness of fentanyl overdoses, which is how his mom passed away. So it's those stories that give me hope and make me realize that stop being so blinded and polarized by what they're showing you on the news media and be focused on the people that are actually out there doing it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of Game of Crimes, and you know where I am. I'm out in Southern California doing a catch-up with a bunch of old friends. You know, it's one of my favorite things to do every year. I think this is my 7th or 8th year. And like I do in the past several years, when I'm out here, I've tried to find guests that we've had on the show before. And I've now, I guess we've had so many people on the show, this is like a treasure trove. I could probably do a whole month's worth of interviews just on the studs and studettes that have been on Game of Crimes before. And today's no different. You might remember today's guest as, or this actual portion of today's episode as the dancing cop from Chino. I mean, I love that title. And it's funny because anywhere I go, I'll mention your name. And we're talking to Ryan Tillman, everybody, by the way. Ryan, welcome back, brother.
Thanks again, Mark. Appreciate you, man.
But I'll say, Ryan Tillman, they'll go, yeah. The kind of, I'm like, the dancing cop from Chino. Oh, everybody knows that guy. And now I say, and he's running for governor. Because if y'all remember, when Ryan was on here, he was on episode 189, which posted back in late March of this year. He gave us an exclusive on the Game of Crimes. He announced that he was running for the governor of California. Now, that's a first on Game of Crimes anyway. So, and your campaign's still moving right along, right?
Man, it is. And I got in trouble by Mel, by the way, because Mel was like, how did Murph get the exclusive about you running for governor for me? So, but yes, man, campaign is going very, very well. And it's kind of surreal too, because when I first talked about running for governor, I was telling people there would be days where you're on this roller coaster, like, oh, it feels great. And then there'll be other days when you know the mountain that you have to climb. Mm-hmm. But over time, once we actually made the soft launch announcement on social media, and then as we started preparing for the physical launch of our campaign next Saturday, every day, like I'm walking more and more in this realism that, no, this is a legit thing. We are here and we are going to change our state. So it's going awesome, man. We're raising money, which is phenomenal. We have a great website. We have a great team. It's rolling.
It's fantastic. I wouldn't have a clue where to even start to do something like that. And, in today's environment, especially in California, being willing to jump into politics, God bless you, brother. That takes some stones, I'm telling you.
I appreciate that, man.
Now, one of the things that I found out recently, and we were together last night for dinner, and a name came up, a guy named Tom Rizzo.
Yes, sir.
When I found out, and we may have reported this one during your first interview, but what did you do in 2024 with Tom?
So in 2024, I had the awesome privilege of being featured as a guest co-host on Patrol Live. So On Patrol Live it was formerly known as Live PD, and then they changed the name to On Patrol Live, where they follow real police officers doing real work in the streets. And Rizzo and I got connected because he is now one of the permanent hosts. Mm-hmm. But as they were looking for new hosts, he and I were hosting probably like twice a month together. And Rizzo's a great, great human being, man. That dude is funny. He's a cop's cop, man. He's a cop's cop for sure.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to run into a dark alley,
Oh, man. Now it is. But that dude is a good dude, man. Like I enjoyed my time doing the guest hosting with On Patrol Live. It's a phenomenal show, phenomenal fan base, but the people are just even better.
Yeah. And he says the exact same thing. And if you wonder who Rizzo is, check out episode 199 on the Game of Crimes. That man, he is so busy. I had to do the first half of the interview, and I couldn't get him back on the calendar till a month later.
Oh, really?
But he came back. And that's the main thing. And just what a
the demand guy. For that. I mean, the show is when we film every Friday and Saturday night, and then he's still. Last I checked, I believe he was still working full time in the capacity of a captain. So, and he's speaking. He has his business and everything like that. So he's a busy man.
You guys are studs, man. I just admire the heck out of all you guys. That's gives me the opportunity to continue to live vicariously.
I admire you, man. Seriously, I'm not just saying that, man. I'm not saying that to blow smoke, man. Like, I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. And now I lost my train of thought.
That tends to happen when I start to, ramble about different things.
Well, no, you start flattering me and I get embarrassed. Where the heck was I going with this?
Oh, man. Is this what happens at home?
My wife's like, where are you? I thought I was at home. But I don't know if you know this, but Rizzo just got inducted to the National Law Enforcement Hall of Fame.
I saw that. And it's just cool, man. I don't know who I was talking to last night. I think I was talking to George, another guy we were with last night. And he was saying, like, sometimes he pinches himself just to think, like, how am I living in this place that I am? And I told him, I said, it's the same for me. I pinch myself. The fact that I can be at dinner with legends like you guys last night, you, Joey, all of you guys. And then to be on a stage, I think there's about 600 officers out there right now and being asked to speak a little bit. I just pinch myself. And so to know that I can be around guys like Tom Rizzo, who got inducted into the Hall of Fame for police work, it's just amazing. It's cool to know.
It is. And he was only the 45th inductee. Wow. I think that thing's been going since 2017. So in 8 years, they've only inducted 45 people, and he got that recognition.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. It makes you proud to know him.
Yep.
So since our last interview, obviously you're running for governor now, but what's new in Ryan Tillman's world? I know that's keeping you busy running for office, but you're still working full time as a cop.
So no, I'm not full time as a cop. I've been part time as a police officer, but I still do I have to go get my quarterly training. But I'm full time, still traveling the country doing my work as, I guess you can say, a consultant. The only reason I say consultant is because, people, it's a broad term, but what I do full time for the most part is I travel teaching people how to resolve conflict. And I feel in 2025, resolving conflict, it shouldn't be a difficult thing, but it is. Yes. We've lost that art. We've lost that ability to do so. We've lost the ability to agree to disagree. And I might have mentioned that on the last episode. So what I've been focused on when I'm not being full-time dad, when I'm not being full-time husband, when I'm not being full-time follower of Christ, like that's my day job, is like focusing on how do I bring people together? How do I reunite them? But now, like I said, a lot of that stuff is pivoting and shifting to this campaign because it's such a tall order. Running for governor of California is like the Mount Everest of politics. Next to running for president of the United States, it's the Mount Everest of any political campaign. So we've been trying to strategize. And to your point earlier, like I wouldn't even know where to start. I didn't know where to start. But slowly but surely, we're starting to figure out and put the pieces in place. And I think what's cool about it, I told my wife the other day, and she told me the same thing. She said, I thought about it like this, like no matter what happens, I'm going to feel good about what we do because it's not an easy road. And just the mere fact that we had the willingness to want to go through something like this and do it the right way, we can stand tall with our heads held high. And that's how I feel.
Wow. And it's just like in law enforcement. So I've been doing some other interviews today here of some heroes here at the conference. And we get to talking about what would you recommend to anybody that's considering a career in law enforcement. And the pros that are in here that have the experience say, you know what, if you're married, get that buy-in from your family first.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with becoming a politician, because as busy as we are in law enforcement and we're always under the microscope of the public to catch us doing something wrong, Governor of California, the microscope just went to a telescope.
Yes.
It's going to be watching you and your family.
Every move. You're right. And, but to kind of, support that statement, and to kind of talk about like my life prior to this, I've always tried to live a life that was under the microscope. Number one, my faith in who I am in Christ. When I came into a relationship, like a true relationship with God, I lived like I was under the microscope because I want to make sure I'm an example to others of what it's like to walk righteously. And I'm not perfect by any means, and neither is my family, but we strive to be Christ-like. So that's number one. Number two is, as a police officer, you are always under the microscope. Every decision you make, everything that comes out of your mouth. And so I've almost been trained to operate under this position of being under the microscope. So I'm always cautious of that wherever I go. So now just adding governor onto that is not necessarily a difficult thing because I've been really trying to emulate and live it. And like I said, I'm not perfect by any means, but I definitely want to strive to be an example for a good politician. I think now politicians have a negative stigma. The word politician has a negative stigma tied to it. I even think negatively of the name of politician. But doing what I did in law enforcement, bridging that gap, ultimately what I wanted to do was change the face of modern day policing and make it more positive. And so I want to do the same thing from a political standpoint.
And that's great. And if I remember correctly, before you became a cop, you were kind of anti-cop.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100% I was anti. I mean, and it was anti-cop because I had some bad experiences, nothing over the top. But then from a cultural standpoint, you know, it was one of those like, we don't mess with the police. That's the type of mentality.
Yeah.
So getting into the professional law enforcement, my perception shifted. And when it shifted, it made me realize like I have a job and responsibility to go back and get others and try to help them change and shift their perceptions as well.
Well, and one thing I see that you do through you've got your business, Breaking Barriers.
United,
I'm sorry. And I've seen this lately. I've seen you more on social media lately than I have in a while. You're taking body cam footage from police officers in potentially critical situations, and you're breaking it down, explaining what everybody's seeing so that you're educating the public that what the media is showing you or trying to lead you by the nose to believe is not what really happened.
Yes.
And you were telling a story. I heard you tell it last night. I heard you telling it out here again today about a guy who approached you, said you broke down my video. Can you tell us about that?
Oh man. So this is funny, man. So in the work that I do, I tell people I have to call balls and strikes. Balls meaning, you know, bad use of force context, strikes meaning like, hey, you know what, you did what you had to do. It was solid work and so forth and so on. So I call more strikes than I call balls. But I have to call the balls. And the reason that is because if we want to really bridge divides, if we want to have transparency, then we have to realize and acknowledge that we're not perfect. But with that, you never know whose ball you're calling.
Because these are people you always know, right?
Oh, I don't know any of these people. Okay. I mean, 99.9% of them I don't know, but I travel so much. And in traveling, you meet people. I'm speaking at a conference of 600 police officers. The odds of them knowing who I am go up. Yep. So I was at my son's baseball practice probably about 6 or 7 months ago. And as I show up to the practice, I recognize all the people on the team, but there's a new guy there with his son. And this is not abnormal. Every now and again, we have people come and try out. So I see the guy and I walk up to him and, hey, how you doing? And just keep passing. I go say hi to the other dads real quick. And so as I looking at the other dads, this new gentleman is just staring at me. So I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? Like, anything I can help you with?
So he's like, spidey sensor going on, right?
Exactly. And so he's like, yeah, he was like, you're Ryan, right? I said, I am Ryan. Work for Chino PD? Yes, I do work for Chino PD. Breaking Barriers United, right? So now I'm like kind of getting nervous. I'm like, okay.
Did I put you in jail?
Yeah, exactly. Well, either did I put you in jail or what do you like? What? Okay, you know me. So he goes on to say, he's like, yeah, you broke down one of my videos. And he just says it just like that. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I hope this wasn't one of those videos that was a ball and I broke it down. So I'm like, trying to think, I'm like, oh, did I? I'm like, kind of remind me which video this was. He was like, yeah, you know, the situation where these officers pull over this gangster who's wanted and, you know, the officers are seen punching the guy in his torso. And I'm like, okay. And then it clicked. And I was like, oh, I do remember that. Now, I couldn't remember what my final takeaway from that was. I didn't know if it was negative or positive. Mm-hmm. So then he follows up and he says, you actually did a really, really good breakdown. It was a very fair breakdown. He said, as a matter of fact, my wife saw it. And he was like, I stayed clear of social media because of the negative publicity that was centered around it. And my wife saw it. And my wife was like, hey, I know you don't want to look at things, but look at this. He actually did you a really good service and justice of explaining it the way he did. And when he told me that, like, obviously my heart started to settle a little bit more. I'm like, okay, good. But I've remembered it vividly. And I actually went into really good depth with his video, so much so that when he had his interaction, his use of force interaction, they were saying it was excessive. But one of the key elements that they left out was as they were beating the guy, you can hear one of the handcuffs go on. They're still punching to get his hands from underneath him because he had access to weapons and they knew he was possibly armed. So then they pull his other one and you can faintly hear the snap of the last cuff. And as soon as you hear that snap, the use of force stopped. So what we did is I had my media team raise the volume of that last snap of the handcuff and actually take a look at when the use of force stopped to say, hey, look, they were utilizing the reasonable amount of force in order to affect what they were trying to do, which was release his hands to get away from any firearms. And sure enough, they located a gun. So he was like, man, thank you so much for doing that. And so anytime I hear those stories, it really, really just makes me feel good about the work we do. Right. And sometimes they come when you least expect it. Sometimes it comes when you're like, man, like, why am I even doing this? Like, is anybody even paying attention? But I just don't realize that we are making a massive impact. And I've done that. I've had that happen a handful of times now.
You know, it's a little bit like that with just running a podcast, this, true crime podcast, Game of Crimes, because I see the analytics. And I got a good idea of the numbers and all that and the demographics and everything that goes along with it. But you just wonder, are people really listening? And then I live in Orlando. I come to California and the guys are coming up saying, hey, I love that interview you did with so-and-so, or you brought this story up. And let me tell you a funny story from where I am. And you start to realize that people actually are listening. And I really haven't figured out why you'd want to hear this redneck hillbilly talking on a podcast. But what it is I'm bringing some true heroes on here. It's not about Murph at all. It's about, and that's the whole purpose of Game of Crime, is to portray law enforcement in the true light that should be spoken about them, to consider the dedication, the perseverance, the bravery required, the sacrifice, not only of you as the police officer, but the sacrifice your family makes as well. I call them the unsung heroes, because you and I go out, we go have fun doing what we think is the most exciting job in the world, risking our lives. We may leave our family stranded, to put up. I mean, we may get killed in the line of duty. I don't worry about that anymore. But,
yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. And just this morning during the opening ceremonies here at the conference, they're talking about the hero police officer that got shot in the line of duty. He survived, but his partner died in a burning police car. It's just amazing. So and then all that's going on, and we expect our families, no, you take the kids to soccer practice and you make sure that the kids get to the doctor's appointment. I don't have time to fool with that. I'm too important. So we can never not recognize our families.
Well, you humanize, and that's what you really do. You humanize people. You share the stories. And to your point, I always tell people it's not about Ryan Tillman. Even my campaign, it's not about me. It's about the people. I feel like we need to give the collective back to the people. I feel like it's been hijacked. I feel like people are pushing initiatives and agendas because they want to push their thing forward. And if we focus on the people, and that's what the beauty of podcast is you focus on other people's stories. It's the stories of these people. It's their testimonies that keep us thriving as a nation, that give us hope. So even when you feel like we have no hope, even when you feel like the hope has been sucked out of everything, I get re-inspired knowing that there's good people out there doing the work like yourself and so many heroes that come on these shows. I had a guy on my podcast yesterday who formerly played in the NFL, and now he's doing so many other different, honorable work just by trying to, raise awareness of fentanyl overdoses, which is how his mom passed away. So it's those stories that give me hope and make me realize that stop being so blinded and polarized by what they're showing you on the news media and be focused on the people that are actually out there doing it.
Right. You can never lose hope.
Never.
Not to get cliche, but it's just like MLK said, man, keep hope alive.
100%.
What's the opposite of hope? Despair. So it's, I think as I'm getting older, I may be getting a little more sentimental and emotional, but you think about the people you put in jail, and when people go to jail for life, I'm not turning into a dove by any means. I've always been a hawk and I always will be. But if you've been sentenced to prison for life with no chance of parole, how do you keep hope alive? I mean, talk about a philosophical question.
Well, no, it is. And I think that's where your identity comes into play, is like, what's your identity? And that's where my spirituality comes into play.
Yes.
Is if I allowed my identity to be based in something from this earth, meaning, a title in a police department, a badge, a position in a company, those things are fleeting because you're not always going to have that. But what you will always have is your identity and who you are in Christ. And so I think for me, that's where it really comes into play. And to your point with the inmates, me and my buddy Steven, my chief of staff over here, one of my good friends, we visited San Quentin Prison about 2 months ago, and we met some 24-year-olds that have 15-year to life sentences. And as we were conversing, I mean, they were just normal guys, meaning we were having a good conversation. I wasn't thinking about what they did. They weren't thinking about who I was. And I realized when they did their crimes, obviously they probably were not in their best state of mind, whether they were using drugs, whatever they were doing. And now that they have been removed and separated from that, you get to see the actual person, the little boy or whatever it may be. And it really did something for me to realize that. And the other part about it is they were taking notes of everything I was saying and trying to find ways to reinvigorate who they were and who their identity was. And I was just thinking man, that's gotta be hard to know, you may not even get out. So for them, their hope was still trying to make themselves still a better quality person, even with the chances of you may not even getting out of this prison. Yeah.
Yeah. Better yourself. We had a little conversation last night at dinner about the Menendez brothers out here. And that, for me, that's just I've done a couple episodes on my Patreon channel about that. Just, it's amazing what's going on.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Which I gotta be honest with you, being from the East Coast, everybody I talk to looks at California like, what the heck is going on out there? Why are they so different? Why is California, and I mean, you can actually throw Washington and Oregon. Why is the West Coast so different from the rest of the country? And then you read an article. I read an article lately just that said the only people moving into California are immigrants. That, American-born people are moving out of California because the tax base is too high. The permissiveness that's allowed to go on with criminals. You know better than I do how the Mexican mafia in prison is playing government officials.
Yes,
especially on the parole board. They've enlisted their help unknowingly. They're unwitting to it to help them further their criminal activities from prison.
Yes.
How can they be so blind? And so when I see people like you, we talked to Chad Bianco earlier today. I see you guys have a law enforcement background. You understand wholeheartedly what's going on here in California. So having said all that, I guess my question is, what is it? And I'm not going politics here because I'm not a voter in California, but I'm just curious, how would you improve California? How would you bring it back? I don't know, maybe to what the rest of the country might consider normal?
That's a great question. So number one is we have to acknowledge that we've allowed the vocal minority to overshadow the silent majority. That's how we've gotten into this situation. And they did it almost like putting a frog in a boiling hot water. Like you put them in a cool pot of water. We've all heard the analogy. And you slowly start to turn up the temperature until basically they end up dying. And that I feel is kind of what our political conundrum has become, is we've allowed certain things to be permissive just because we're not really paying attention. So my fix is, number one, when we talk about leadership, Chad Bianco, like I tell people, I don't have anything negative to say about Chad Bianco. He supported me throughout the years, and I won't say anything negative about Chad Bianco. But when we talk about leadership and talking about the direction of where we think California could go, we have to realize that California is a very, very unique state that controls and has a lot of power and influence over the rest of the country. I'm telling people outside of California, it's in your best interest that you have a good leader in California, because we often dictate how things move on a national basis. The way we get there is, number one, we have to have somebody that can appeal to a broad base of people. Unfortunately, because things have been so polarized, people are tired of it. And so they need somebody. We need a leader that can appeal to the left side, the right side, and everything in the middle. And so we have to start there. And that person that can appeal to that broad base of people has to have a good, solid foundation and good core. For me, my core is 5 things, is rooted in 5 key elements. And I'll be quick because I don't want to, like you said, I want to make this political. But number one is we have to improve the economy. The economy is tanking us. It's a problem when people are moving out of state And when this is supposed to be the Golden State, I was literally in a Lyft the other day, literally like 2 or 3 days ago. And I was talking to a gentleman who lost his wife about a year ago to a wrong way driver because he wasn't paying attention. This man, he has older kids, but he has to move to Tennessee in order to get a house that he can buy out and then hopefully leave something to his kids because he can't afford to live here. Wow. So, and he has nothing left other than his businesses. So that's a problem. So we got to fix the economy. We have to be able to create new revenue streams for our state. We have to be able to think outside the box and cut a lot of red tape. The second thing we have to do, you mentioned it earlier, is we got to be tough on crime. Like, I am a firm believer in being tough on crime. I was related to when I was younger, like I would be afraid of my dad if I did something because I knew if I got in trouble, I knew what was coming. I knew a whooping was coming. Oh, yeah. And so if I got a whooping, you better believe I was going to think twice from committing the same offense a second time. Yep. So we got to be tough on crime. Where we miss the mark is we fail to realize that there is a redemptive part of it, and we can redeem some of these people who have failed in their life. You know, none of us are perfect. And so if we create a sustainable system that does allow them, those that want to be redeemed, let's help them out so they don't become reoffenders. Then the third thing we have to do is we have to bring back a lot of power to the parents over their children's education. We have allowed the education system to become inundated with political and cultural sound talking points. And we need to get back to teaching math, teaching English, teaching science, and allowing your personal opinions based on culture to stay your personal opinions and not be put on these kids who are malleable. These kids, they're listening to people. And I'm not saying that it's overly wrong, but we just got to be more careful. So give the power back to the parents over the kids' education. Number 4 was we have to make sure that we start predicting a lot of these natural disasters from occurring. A good friend of mine named Gordon Graham, he has a company called Lexipol. And one of the things he always says is predictable is preventable. If we can predict the natural disasters that are occurring, we can prevent them. But unfortunately, we failed to do that in California. And so we have situations like the fire that burn our state down to the ground. So let's get ahead of it. We don't have a water problem. We have a water storage problem. So let's fix that. And then the last but not least, and this is probably one of the one I pride myself on the most, is the Family First Initiative. We incentivize government assistance. We incentivize abortion and all these other things. Why not incentivize the nuclear family to stay together? If the family stays together, it's already been proven the odds of your kids being incarcerated goes way down. If the family stays together, odds of your children being successful go way up. Currently in California, on average, it costs about $107,000 per incarcerated individual in our state. We have over 90,000 inmates in our state. So we created marital benchmarks where you've been married 10, 15, 20 years, and we can lower your taxes based on you guys focusing on your family. Then not only will we see incarceration go down, but we're also going to see the quality of life go up for our people. So I think by putting plans in place, the people in place that can execute that out, I think we'll start to see a tide turn. Wow. That's a lot of forward thinking there. Very out of the box, man. I've been a very out of the box thinker my whole entire life. And so it's not going to stop now. Excellent. Excellent. Is just a couple more questions before we finish up here, but your family's on board with this? I wouldn't be doing it if my family wasn't. Yeah. My kids are so funny, man. My kids are number one, my wife is a beautiful soul, and she's been my right hand partner in crime in everything I do. And so I wouldn't have even said yes to this if she didn't say yes. Yeah. And my kids, they're at that age where this is fun and cool now. I mean, they always geek out when people recognize dad when I'm out and about. But, my middle son, he couldn't wait for us to announce this. Like, he was like, Dad, so we can announce it? Like, I can announce it now. I can tell people? I'm like, yes. And you can tell people. So then I go to pick him up from school that day. He's like, Dad, so man, told everybody you're running for governor. He's like, like concerts when they put like the people on their shoulders and then they like go throw them up and down because they're excited for him. That's what they did to me, Dad. They put me on their shoulders. They put me up and down. Like, yeah. And so like my kids are so excited about it. So, and for me, the biggest thing is like, I want my kids to know like you're literally capable of doing anything. Yeah. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself at all. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's what, not to make it about me, but that's what I really enjoy about the fame of Narcos. And it's not about Murphy. It's not about Javier. You ask people who Pablo Escobar is, everybody knows. Who's Steve Murphy? Who? Who's Javier Pena? I know who Steve Murphy is. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? And the getting that excitement that you're willing to take that leap of faith, that you feel like you're being directed in that direction. It's easy to sit back and use rhetoric to say,
God, open a door, I'll step through. Mm-hmm. But then when that door opens, what do you do?
Correct. And I tell people, I say, look, I don't know what next year looks like. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I know that I have the opportunity to be obedient today.
Yep.
So as long as I'm obedient today, then God will take care of the rest.
Brother, I love it. I love it. Anything else going on in your life that we need to know about since we interviewed you last? Because we did a pretty good interview last time.
It was good, man. And thanks again. I told you, I've had people come over from your side to my side as far as like listening. So it's been awesome. I can't wait to have you on my podcast, the Ryan Tillman Show, where we host you here in California. But, other than that, man, this is my life in a summary. And the biggest thing I would ask people is just continue to follow our journey. If you're interested in what my political platform looks like, you can go to Tillman26.com. Check us out. We actually have our launch party next Saturday, June 7th here in Southern California. So if you're just I don't know when this is going to be posted, probably going to be after it's all done, said and done. Probably. But just make sure you follow us on Tillman26.com. But it's going to be a great story to see how it ends. However it ends, it's going to be great because we were obedient.
Hey, and the fact that you've got the stones to step up and try. I know you're getting support from up above, but I just don't know that that's a challenge I could ever take. I'll be honest with you.
Hey, you know what? At least once I'm done, I can say at least I tried. So, but you have the cojones that a lot of other people didn't have when you were doing your work with the narco stuff. So we all have our journey.
What I always say is that, DEA didn't hire me because I was real smart. It's like Mikey. Give it to Mikey. He'll eat it. Give it to Murph. He'll do it.
Well, thanks so much, Murph. I appreciate you, man.
And that's Tillman, Tillman 26.com.
Correct. Or Breaking Barriers United. That's on all my other platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Breaking Barriers United. You can find me anywhere on there as well.
Excellent. And please go check that out. You want to find out what's really going on. You don't want the media telling you what to believe. You're intelligent. You've got a brain. God gave you a brain. He gave you common sense. Do your own research. Find out what the issue is. You do your own research. You make up your own mind. Don't let anybody tell you what to think. That's a hot point for me. And we push that on every speaking event we do. I bring that out to the attention of the audience. And that's what I'm asking you to do here. Check out that Breaking Barriers United. I started saying limited again. Sorry. I can see the U on my laptop here. And brother, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. I can't wait to have you on my podcast, man.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm wishing God's blessings on everything. Let this thing turn out the way he wants it to turn out. Thank you for your honesty. Everybody, thank you for coming back again to the Game of Crimes here. I can't thank you enough. I couldn't do any of this without you, without your support, your following. If you're not on YouTube yet, go over to YouTube, please. Type in Game of Crimes Podcast in the search bar. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Send me some comments. I even read the bad ones. I know you're not supposed to, but I do. I can't help myself. But the truth is, I know why you keep coming back. Because you like playing the biggest, baddest, most dangerous game of all. And that's the Game of Crimes. God bless. God bless, brother. See you next time.
God bless, Murph. Thanks.
All right.